Yes, as you can read on my title, it's a true story. During the preparation of the presentation, I thought I can impress you by showing us the capabilities from a technical point of view, all the legal frameworks we have in place, but then I thought, no, it makes more sense to take you on the journey of SIX to become an European cross-border acquirer. Everything started at the beginning of the new millennium as a really market leader in Switzerland in processing and acquiring. We felt very comfortable. And by the way, we were not just only a market leader in Switzerland, we were only market leader in Liechtenstein, a very important country as well in Europe. And at the same time, we had to replace our back office application, and we thought now it would really make sense to build something which allows us to conquer Europe. First, before we started to go to Europe, we had the chance to take over the market leader internal business in Europe, and knowing that every merchant is asking about offering everything out of one source, we decided to take over this terminal business from the market leader in Switzerland, having now a comprehensive product offering in place in Switzerland and as well in Liechtenstein. And having that in place, we faced with the issue, how do we really bring this offering to Europe? How do we do that? And it's not all about technical solutions and product offerings. You need visionaries. You need employees who drive and are willing to drive such a process and go through such a process with you, because you can imagine that going such a way, there are a lot of obstacles during such a process over all these years. Now, we were lucky that one of our biggest customers in this time decided that he wanted to expand his business and asked us to follow him. And we did. And we immediately faced with a lot of challenges. For example, how on earth can we cover operational support in languages that we don't speak in Switzerland? Or have we ever tried to ship goods from Switzerland to any other European countries? It's really a mess of bureaucracy. And not mentioning having on-site support in all these different countries in Europe. Having all these processes during a phase of 2 years in place and all the products designed along this huge customer, we really realized that it doesn't make sense to have all this in place just for one or a few customers. At this time, we decided to start our international expansion, and with founding the company SIXPay SH in Luxembourg. And in the same year, we have taken over Cetrel, the market leader in Luxembourg, making Luxembourg a new home market for SIX. But now, why Luxembourg? Because a Swiss company, you will never get a PSD license. You need to have a legal entity within the EU, otherwise you will not be able to follow the customers or to have an acquiring business outside of Switzerland. That was the reason why we have set up this company in Luxembourg. And with this setup, we were able to address directly or indirect a lot of markets and countries in Europe with partners. At this time, just via partners, because we decided not to go with our direct field sales approach to all these different countries in Europe. Then afterwards, we were able to win the RFP from the former Paylife Bank in GmbH in Austria, and via first technical integration and afterwards the organizational integration of this company, because we acquired Paylife in 2013, we learned a lot about local functionalities. And you can imagine, also in Austria, it's not a huge country, but there are many, many local features in place. And by the way, we migrated 60,000 merchants from the former platform from First Data to our platform of SIX. With that, my conclusion, we learned a lot about what does it mean to support customers with a lot of local functionalities and features, but as well, we gained a lot of experience in migrating portfolios from one application to another one without disturbing the daily business from the market. But again and again, and we faced with a lot of challenges, especially also in the regulatory environment. And have taken now Sweden as an example, but the same is valid also for Hungary, local settlement. We were at this time not aware that you have to implement a local settlement in countries like Sweden and like Hungary, and we did. But simply to know all these local rules, all these legal requirements, all these card scheme rules, it's really, really tough. And as a guy working on the business side, for me it's just waste of time and money, to be very honest. But that's the reason why I like our colleagues working in the legal and the compliance department, looking at any time that we are really, really compliant with all the local rules, all the local regulations, and also the scheme rules. And it's very important also have this guy as the one supporting you in all these European expansion plans you have. Then, also some local technical features like the British debit card for visually handicapped people surprises you, because we never heard before, as we stepped in the UK market following a big hospitality client. And we had to implement this functionality in our terminal environment, as well in our back office application, to really be an acquirer in the UK as well. But this surprises you. But at the end, I think we all love surprises. But to be honest, not this one. But of course, also bad surprises like system breakdowns can happen. We know exactly, all of us working in this IT infrastructure environment, that from time to time such a breakdown can happen. But managing such a breakdown in a European environment is totally different than just having this one solely in Switzerland. And as we had many years ago, one of the first items, I can say you that it was hard to fight with our IT colleagues because they thought just about Switzerland. The message was, oh, now we have really a problem in Switzerland. No, we have now a problem all over Europe. To bring or to take all the guys with you on such a journey is also very important. Not only the sales guys and the product managers, the marketing, they're all aware about that, but you have also to take with you all the people working in the back office, that they know exactly what are you doing the whole day. Now, recently we have taken over the technical NSP business unit from ZVD in Germany. The closing have taken place in October last year. And with that, I can say that we have closed, or we are able now to close one of the last big gaps we have in the product portfolio for being a cross-border acquirer in Europe. There are some gaps still, but with that, I think for us, all of us, it was a huge step we have achieved last year, that we are now also in Germany a really acquirer who can offer the comprehensive product portfolio, including Girocard and ELV acceptance in Germany as well. Now, where do I see the further merchant needs? I think to cover all these needs, you have to be very agile in adapting. You see here some brands like Alipay, like Ideal. We have included all these brands being as an acquirer or just via connecting them with us and have a so-called collection service in place. We are able now to offer to our merchants also all these brands. And it's very, very important to have a team in place covering and observe what's happening in the market and take some decisions for which brand you really have to go. Because you have to select and you have to take a decision which brand do we really want to implement now as an acquirer or just via collecting and connecting with some of these companies that you really can meet the needs coming from the merchants. Now, from my point of view, how it will continue. We got last year roughly 95 RFPs from big key accounts in Europe, and already 10 of them asked for a global acceptance. And for us, fighting now since 12 years, being a European acquirer, that's a new dimension. And I'm absolutely convinced for us as SIX, We need to have partners to manage it because it doesn't make sense to go by ourselves and being an acquirer all over the world, having also some support functions like on-site service in place. It doesn't make sense for us, for example, as SIX, but you have to manage it. And why we do what we do? Because that was a question came up, I would say, on a monthly basis. Why we really do that? Because sometimes it's a mess, it hurts, and it doesn't make sense from some colleagues, especially colleagues in the legal department, because they like to be just in Switzerland. It's so a closed market. And I say because most of us really love this business. And we see the advantage we can bring to merchants, that they can consolidate, that they have really one single point of contact. And of course, it's business for us. We have to scale. The payment business is a scale business. And we have gained a lot of experience during the last 12 years. What does it mean to support merchants in all this market, to have all these functionalities in place, to be agile? And I would say, and I'm really be proud of that, to say that SIX is now really acting as a cross-border acquirer in Europe. And my conclusion, when I look to all these bubbles here, yes, of course, you have to have the technical solutions, you have to have the products in place and so on. But I would say more or less it's all about the people working for that. Because you have to have some visionaries. You have to have some visionaries looking for the opportunities, bringing in to be an acquirer in other markets, and you have to have them. And be aware, it's not so easy to convince the whole company that it really makes sense to go to Poland and be an acquirer in this country. Means beside the technical problems you can have, you can solve it. It's not really an issue. But acting as a leader is very important, and having some visionaries in your organization driving you with the whole organization in such a way. Now, what are our achievements we got since the last years? We are now market leader in 3 markets, but you can read here, and you see why it's very important to be also a player in other European markets. We are market leader in 3 very small countries, Switzerland, Austria, and Luxembourg. And from a scale perspective, it is, and it was, and is still very important to go European-wide and be an acquirer in all the other countries as well. And we have now acquiring contracts in roughly 30 countries. And our buzzword, when I look to these bubbles here, is global. Think global and act local. That's the reason why I have also local presence with 13 locations, be it in Warsaw, be it in Italy, be it in Hungary as well, because we have to know what are the market dynamics and what are the market needs coming from the merchants sitting in such countries. It doesn't make sense to steer the whole business out of one headquarter, for example, in Zurich. And from the figures that what we have processed last year, more than 90 billion merchant sales volume coming from or generated by roughly 200,000 merchants with an installed base of 310,000 terminals. And that's what we are. And that's what we have got now, or what we have achieved now in the last 12 years, being now a European-wide acquirer. Thank you very much.